Okay, this player is positively spamming Hail of Blades Samira in high elo Korean solo queue, and they're actually winning. I want to get right into the replay because I really want to see how that works exactly, so here's the full rune page and the item build. I'll also leave a link to the player's profile in the description so you can have a look yourself. You'll find it underneath the shoutout to my sponsor Solo Queue Solution, which also might be relevant to you if you are interested in hiring a challenger coach to get better at the game as fast as possible. It is a premium service of course, so book only if you grind solo queue 15 hours per week or more. Anyway, let's talk about the theory real quick. What can Hail of Blades offer over Conqueror? So Conqueror is taken on Samira because she can stack it in tandem with her passive, so you can then ult with all the bonus AD and possibly also with healing. Hail of Blades on the other hand appears to be an early game choice, as getting more autos in will help much more during the lane phase than the stacking adaptive force from Conqueror. But does this extra power from Hail of Blades really matter in a Draven lane? Okay, we got the first trade happening as Nautilus lands a hook onto Draven under tower, which is quite nice. Braum jumps to his help, and Samira can instantly follow up with her passive, triggering Hail of Blades for the extra auto attacks, with the extra attack speed, jumps in, goes full commitment, and does a number of damage to Draven, and especially Braum, who's now stuck under tower. But ultimately, it's still a Draven, and yes, Conqueror would have done almost nothing here, whereas Hail of Blades enabled at least one extra auto attack, I dare say. So Hail of Blades is definitely better in that situation, but it's still a Draven we're talking about, and Samira does take quite a beating. Draven still coming out ahead in this fight, but to be fair, with Conqueror this would have been even worse for Samira. But as a matter of fact, Samira is stuck in lane now with low HP. She must avoid fights at all costs, because another beating like this will give Draven a kill, which is exactly what you need to prevent in a lane like that. But you can always farm with your Q from range, and again, Conqueror would have left Draven with even more HP from that situation earlier, so the difference is minimal at this point, and slightly better even here with the Hail of Blades rune page. Also, for what it's worth, the half HP Draven and Braum are very gankable right now, especially due to the new jungle paths making it quite attractive for the jungler to come. Yet in this game none of this happens, as both Draven and Samira eventually recall and return with a serrated dirk each, having a nice power spike each for their own, but Draven still slightly stronger as a matter of fact. Not only is he holding lane priority, but he also got farm advantage because Braum was able to hold the wave for him while they both took their recall, which is a sizable advantage for Draven. Anyway, once Samira hits level 6 as well, they do get a gank. Let's watch the situation first and then evaluate closely. Unfortunately, the situation was a complete disaster, but what we could see here, interestingly enough, is that Hail of Blades is not purely an early game damage rune. One of the main merits is that you get your ultimate ready faster, because it's so easy to weave in auto attacks between your spells, losing minimal time. You do get your ult earlier, which can make a difference. Obviously in this situation it didn't make a difference because Samira just died, but she would have also died with Conqueror, so no difference here. However, we see an interesting application of the keystone. After that disastrous fight, both parties resume laning and Draven still holds lane priority, which honestly is not a big difference to what happened before. It doesn't change much, Draven had priority throughout the entire lane phase anyway. Yet interestingly enough, Taliyah, despite her gank earlier going terribly wrong, decides to gank the lane again. A winning lane, which is always very risky, and well, she dies in the process one more time. But let's see how Samira follows up here while keeping the pressing question of Conqueror versus Hail of Blades in mind. Hail of Blades is actually really useful here. The fast auto attacks finish Draven off before he can do anything funny, which is especially important because he has a fully stacked lethal tempo which deals a lot of damage with his items. It is questionable though whether Conqueror would have achieved the same thing but slower. I mean, if Conqueror in that situation would have also allowed Samira to get the kill without dying, then there's no difference of course, but we can clearly see that Hail of Blades does provide a lot of upfront damage. Now Draven is obviously still very far ahead of Samira, but look at that smooth trading. She just dashes in there, gets her autos off quickly before Draven can do too much damage back. The sequence here is auto attack, E plus Q combo, and then 2 more auto attacks with Hail of Blades, all while Draven has very little time to do anything really. Alright, next situation. The supports return to lane, and Nautilus does end up landing a grab on Braum. And here we have a huge win for Hail of Blades instead of Conqueror, because Samira is able to follow up in a very non-committal way. She obviously can't dash in there because else Draven would just murder her, but with the 3 auto attacks and her Qs she can deal a lot of damage without doing anything risky. Much better payoff for that grab with Hail of Blades as opposed to Conqueror. Okay, entering the mid-game now. This is where I had assumed Hail of Blades would start to fall off. Anyway, the slightly behind Samira fights the fed Irelia. Yes, half HP, but 3 levels lead plus items, etc. Samira comes out ahead here actually, using E for the gap close and for the attack speed, then follows up with 2 auto attacks using all the extra attack speed from E and from Hail of Blades, then a Q, another auto attack, then a slow auto attack and arguably a very late W which could have been cast earlier for more safety, but the crucial detail here is she probably would have lost this with Conqueror. Now after shutting down the fed Irelia, blue team can convert that momentum into valuable mid lane pressure. Red team doesn't like that at all, of course, and we get the first real teamfight. Let's see how Hail of Blades Samira performs here. As you can see, as soon as the grab lands, Samira goes for an auto attack, a Q, another auto attack, and then E and auto attack, getting her ult ready lightning fast. With Conqueror the ult would have had more power, but with Hail of Blades you get the ult earlier. This was a good fight of course, and Samira got a lot of gold and a lot of items as a result, but red team still is 3000 gold ahead and they can pressure Baron. Blue team though cannot allow this of course, because this would lose them the game on the spot, so they have to engage and Hail of Blades Samira has to deliver here. It is quite hard to see what exactly happened in this messy situation, but the sequence was arranged Q plus the passive auto attack, plus W, E, W, getting 2 W hits after the E, and then unlocking R. And here Hail of Blades arguably did nothing, and Conqueror would have been better because you just attack with more AD, but does it even matter in a situation like this, honestly? However, the consistency Hail of Blades provides is clearly visible in this example. It all happens so fast that it's actually really difficult to see and appreciate again, but here the sequence is auto attack, Q auto attack, E auto attack, then E reset, and then unlocking R finally in the end. And here the Hail of Blades is actually massive. The speed matters, the time in which you get your ult ready in the first place. Well, I have to admit that Hail of Blades seems way more useful than it looks on paper. But what do you think? Would you say it is worth trying over Conqueror? And by the way, in case you want more information on Conqueror Samira and on Samira in general, you can watch my full guide on Conqueror Samira by clicking the link on your screen.